Hub Spoke Tales with Gina, where we explore the truth and the lies of local folklore. Today we explore personalities, sometimes shrouded in mystery, and leaving people with unanswered questions that can go unanswered for decades. We have all been the topic of misinformation to one degree or another at some point in our lives. The hot topic of gossipy biddies at Betty's hair salon, a quick, "You won't believe what I just heard in the church parking lot," or "Wait till you get a load of this," whispered in school hallways. I remember when I was a rebellious and wild teenager hearing that I, myself, was a witch. Not a mean girl, although I was at times, but a real, honest-to-goodness, Satan-worshipping, magic-wielding Samantha, or for today's younger audiences, a Sabrina the Teenaged Witch. I'm not exactly sure where that came from, but I had been sporting a lot of black clothing and Maybelline waterproof mascara in the color of very black. But I was more Metallica than Wiccan, more Megadeth than Eye of Newt. I was also more embarrassed by the rumors than hurt or angry by them because they were just stupid. If I had been a witch, I would have used my powers on the very ones who outed me in the first place. I was already a twin, which I've mentioned before, and therefore an oddity without any extra adjectives. Indeed, I did not go to church unless guilted into taking my elderly mamaw sometimes, but Satan was not my go-to. I was busy trying to run my own life back then, and now me and the Lord just giggle at how all of that turned out. But anyway, my point is that we all know what it's like to have misinformation distributed about ourselves. The Hattiesburg area can boast amazing personalities, from celebrity chef-author Robert St. John, comedian Fred Armisen, the late civil rights and voting activist Vernon Damer, and retired laundress Osceola McCarty, who donated her entire life savings to the University of Southern Mississippi. These people are interesting and positive residents and contributors to the area. Hub Spoke Tales is interested in the characters whose reputations are often thrust upon them without their knowledge or permission. For example, when I was growing up off Sanford Road on the banks of the Leaf River lived a man I'll call Cecil. Cecil loved life, people, having a good time, and making money. Everybody under the age of 18 loved Cecil, because if you had 4 quarters, you could poke them in a working Coca-Cola machine located on his front porch and receive a perfectly cold can of beer. Now, $1 for a can of beer was expensive in 1984, but it was less expensive and more reliable than paying a stranger to do it. Another adult, who for lack of a better explanation was young at heart and contributed to teenage shenanigans, was a sheriff's deputy we'll call Deputy Goodtime. Make no mistake, Deputy Goodtime took his job seriously and confiscated ill-gotten alcohol from teenage ne'er-do-wells at roadblocks, busted parties, and raided dark corners of the county for most of the year. But come wintertime, at least once a year, he'd host a party and invite every rapscallion he'd threatened previously. Many a teenager tasted their first mouthful of Everclear in his shed. I still wonder how he never got caught. An incredibly kind countrywoman, Miss Kelly, read tea leaves for people old and young. Countless people swear that many of her readings warned people from impending doom and assured love for several couples who hadn't quite made their feelings known yet. And one of my personally favorite personalities was Hootenanny, a cross-dressing African-American man who carried a hammer and walked the neighborhoods of downtown Hattiesburg. Had he been around today, how much different and more free his life may have been, and with no need of a defensive weapon. But 30-some-odd years ago, different felt more dangerous somehow. I was told that his mother encouraged the hammer-toting, and it made me happy that he was loved. I saw him with my own eyes one day in the sleepwear section of Walmart, and maybe it was because I'd already witnessed him in his natural state, walking down Main Street in a blue cotton shift dress and full beard. His current location next to the pastel nighties all but looked normal. Whether or not these people knew their places in the thought processes of us, they did and still do have these reputations. But one of the most engrossing characters seen in these parts might just be the infamous Cat Lady. Fanny's was a long and unique story, and even the oldest citizens of Hattiesburg and her own family and friends sometimes mix up the details of her life. The story that circulated about her was that she was a witch who studied her art in New Orleans. This rumor was supposedly substantiated by the fact that she surrounded herself with untold numbers of cats, lived in a haunted house on Mamie Street, dressed in long dresses and capes, and donned fiery red hair. Her laugh was considered a cackle by the high school kids who dared knock on her door or drive past and honk their horns to rile the witch. This and her many cats sometimes caused displeasure with her neighbors, and over the decades, as her properties declined, some were condemned and demolished. The worst of the lies included that when her husband died, she kept him in her front yard in their car. When someone who actually knew her said that she was never married, the story changed to say that the family drove a dead brother around before turning him in. Other mean stories exist, but in this case, as it almost always is, the truth about the cat lady disarms any lie. I met the infamous cat lady at, of all places, the ticket counter at the old Cloverleaf Mall Cinema where Fanny Kiker worked. Her fashion sense reminded me of Stevie Nicks: flowing scarves, unique dresses, flaming long red hair, and a great happy smile from which exploded a wonderful and natural laugh. I was actually a little disappointed. She wasn't weird, mentally impaired, or mumbling spells. She was nice, normal, well-mannered. I don't even remember seeing cat hair on her clothes. Fanny was a real person. Her obituary, written by Joan Polk and printed in the Hattiesburg American in 2009, listed a myriad of accomplishments. A lifetime member of Temple Baptist Church, she earned a degree in language from Sophie Newcomb at Tulane University, thus verifying where the roots of the rumor about her studying witchcraft in New Orleans must have come from. She was fluent in French and Spanish and spent her professional career tutoring students and working in office jobs for several different businesses. She later retired from her family's business, Kiker's News and Books, which was located on the Sanger Theater property. Fanny ran for city council, helped manage the voting polls for 18 years, and campaigned for the first ever female Attorney General of Mississippi, Evelyn Gandy. Her list of volunteer service puts the best of us to shame. One lie that is true is that the cat lady really did love cats. Polk said it was a common occurrence for her to take any stray pets and make sure they were loved and cared for. Fanny saw animals as her children, and she stood up to her neighbors when they complained. This free spirit and eccentric woman was a rebel at heart. And witchcraft played no part in her life. Her mission on earth was to glorify God. Her heart was always turned toward Jesus Christ, added Polk. With a heart for animals and a lifetime of feeding the homeless, Fanny was more than a crazy cat lady or eccentric caricature of a person. People loved her, respected her, and she loved and respected them in return. Many older people who knew her have trouble remembering the details, but one unsubstantiated story says that Fanny was engaged once to a young man who died of polio before they could be married. I include this rumor because the romantic in me loves the idea of true love, and the Christian in me loves the idea of her continued devotion and worship of God, even in the face of devastating loss. Fanny Kiker sounds like the kind of woman who could have easily shouldered the moniker Cat Lady and might even have been proud to wear it. We are touched and sometimes changed by the people we meet in this life, even if only for a second. Our souls are constantly reaching out and bumping into others whom we may never see again or who may become an important part of our own story. Fanny Kiker was not a crazy cat lady, but a kind, unique, happy cat lady. You could be next. You might be the next mean old man down the street, or perhaps the woman with the sinister secret. If you become the next dangerous, weird, or reviled neighbor in your town, make sure the truth in your lies about your character are as interesting, kind, and Christ-filled as Annie Kiker's was. The truth about Hattiesburg is that if you have your own style like Fanny did, stop by Eve Marie's for stylish boutique women's clothing, or the Author Shop, not your average bookstore, or the Lucky Rabbit for anything and everything you could ever want. And if you enjoyed this episode of Hub Spoke Tales with Gina, please join me next time as we walk the ghostly footprints of Mississippi freedman John Wesley Fairley.